everybody. So today's Monday. It means it's time for family movie night. We finished the last of my patron picks for the month of August that we've been doing. It's been a lot of fun. And if you want to have your pick be reviewed for family movie night, make sure you check out the Patreon. It helps us so much, and I appreciate it so much. Please take a look at all the information in the description, and you can have your pick picked for family movie night, and I will review it. And today we're talking about one of the classics of Hallmark. It is spawned an entire franchise. It is called The Good Witch, and this was in 2008. And this was requested by patron Caroline. She's also a co-host of the Hallmarkies podcast. So I am so grateful for her and all the work that she does for us. And it was fun to revisit this because I covered The Good Witch on the Hallmarkies podcast. It's one of those rare shows that starts out as movies, TV movies, but then actually transitions into a series. And I forget how many movies that they actually did before it became the actual series. But yeah, it started in 2008. Just the very start of Hallmark Channel, and so it was interesting to revisit it. I hadn't watched it in a long time. I did when I first started the podcast back in 2017. I did a big binge and watched them all, and I haven't seen this since then. So it was very interesting to look back. And there's so many things that are the same from the series, but then other stuff that's quite different, particularly with Martha, played by Catherine Disher. She's way more of an antagonist in this movie. She's pretty selfish, and the things that she excuses, behavior that she excuses in her boys when they vandalize Cassie's shop is pretty shocking. That here they've literally destroyed windows, they've vandalized her storefront, and she's willing to just have it be waved off as nothing because Cassie is like a devil woman or something and bringing her black magic into Milton. And she's just so much more of a funny kind of busybody character in the show. And she doesn't get to show as much of the humor in this first movie. But I love her. We got to interview her 6 times over the course of the show for Hallmarkies podcast. It was a delight whenever we got a chance to do so. And I got to talk to her about her X-Men days, and it's gonna be fun for that show to come back. It was always just great to talk to Catherine. I almost said to talk to Martha, but no, to talk to Catherine Disher was always really fun. And then we also have Chris Potter playing Lieutenant Jake, Sheriff Jake. And he becomes the love interest for Cassie. There's also a line where Martha talks about police brutality, and that's pretty awkward. That certainly didn't hold up that well. Now that line would be a lot more weighted and heavy. But Chris Potter plays Jake, and he is and he's the like local sheriff, police lieutenant kind of person. And he has 2 kids. He's a widow. They love widowers in Hallmark Channel, and he starts to investigate Cassie. She moves into the Gray House, which is the same house that we have in the series and throughout the rest of the movie. And she has the Merriwick line in her family, and she's able to do mysterious things. And I would say that this movie is one of the only times in the show that you actually see like real magic, like spells and stuff that she does on the dog and some other things. Most of the rest of the show, it's not really real magic. It's more intuition. She can feel that what's going to happen. She can sense, particularly like she does a lot of matchmaking in the show. She'll put couples together. She'll have them show up at just the right time together. She'll be there at just the right time. That's more the kind of magic that you see on The Good Witch. And in this one, you actually see like a broom, and you also have a magic kind of a cat, and you have her, like I said, sort of spooking this dog and some of those other things. And that's feels different in the show, but it's fun. I enjoyed it. And her interactions with the 2 little kids are really cute. And her interactions with George, who's played by Peter McNeil. He's actually the father of Jake's wife, who'd passed away. And so then Jake ends up passing away because Chris Potter had to do Heartland, so he couldn't do both series. So he ends up passing away, and they get a new love interest for Cassie, but Peter McNeil stays on the cast as George. And so he's actually not related to anybody in the cast, and yet he plays that role of like a grandfather figure, which is for Grace and for everybody else. So it's kind of an interesting thing that ended up developing. Lots of like 2000s fashion, and it's kind of funny because like late 2000 fashion, well, really 2000 fashion, it doesn't really stand out to me as having much identity. It's like borrowing from all these different times. It's interesting to watch something like this and be like, oh, there was like weird, she had like weird strips of fabric on her clothes at times, and she had really kind of glossy, shiny shirts and dresses, and you can see like different things. It was like, oh yeah, that was a thing, that you don't really realize it when it's happening. At least I didn't. And then so it's interesting to kind of look back at something this like this and be like, oh yeah, that's how we were dressing then. But Catherine Bell's always great as Cassie. She's got just enough like intrigue that you want to learn more, but she's very sweet and very wholesome. I mean, this is a witch show by way of Hallmark, so it's not really like a witch. It's just like more enchanting and charming, I would say. She's great. I think that her and Chris Potter have nice chemistry. It's kind of nice seeing him in this show because he's kind of a jerk in Heartland, or he can be kind of a misogynist. And so it's nice to see him in Good Witch and in a softer, kinder character than Tim. Tim has his moments in Heartland, but he can be frustrating too. So anyway, it's good to see that contrast. But I think they have nice chemistry. She's really cute with the two kids. We kind of got rid of Lori for the series, and you had Brandon just being a smaller character for a couple of seasons, and then he was gone. But they kind of forgot about Jake's kids after a while. But you have Nancy, who's really cute, who benefits from Cassie's advice. She ends up getting pregnant, and she's like, "Did you have a say in this?" She's like, "That's something I've never heard before, is helping someone get pregnant." But anyway, I thought that was a funny line. And you have things getting pretty hot between Cassie and Jake. They have a romantic date with a fireplace all lit up and everything. And I feel like now you wouldn't have things escalate so quickly. I mean, that was something that definitely changed with, say, When Calls the Heart, where that relationship took forever to get going. It was so slow. And then Chesapeake Shores, the same thing. It was so, so slow. And you'd have a ton of near kisses, and but this, they just got right to it. First movie, they're basically dating and committed and everything by the end of the movie. So yeah, that's basically this movie. It does kind of feel slow, and I don't think that if you weren't invested in the show, I don't know how invested in the movie you would be, because not that much happens. There's a bully that's bothering Brandon, that has a complicated backstory. There's them trying to close down her shop, but it's just nothing too much as far as plot. It's more about building these characters like a pilot would be for a television show. I think I think it means more for us that have already been invested in this world than going back and watching this. But if you didn't have that, I think it might be a little slow. But who knows? Let me know what you think. If you get to see it, I would love to hear your thoughts. And please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. Make sure to check out over at Hallmark Use Podcast. You can see all the Good Witch content that we have over there. I would really appreciate that. Got the Patreon, and so you can get your pick reviewed for Family Movie Night. And we have the merch store where we have some Good Witch inspired merch. So take a look at that. And thanks again, everybody. And thanks to Caroline for suggesting this movie for me to review. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone.